Hi there. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Tinnitist TV. Today, I am talking to the Blasters. The good news is they're back. The bad news is it's just on vinyl. For those who haven't been paying attention, it's been about 40 years since the California roots rockers, formed and fronted by singer-guitarist brothers Phil and Dave Alvin, exploded onto the scene with instant classics like American Music, Marie Marie, and Border Radio. Unfortunately, it's also been nearly that long since their catalog went out of print. But that's about to change. Liberation Hall Records recently announced plans to reissue the band's classic LPs on vinyl over the coming months. The campaign kicked off with the fittingly titled new compilation Mandatory, along with the long overdue return of Phil Alvin's equally essential 1986 solo album Unsung Stories. Shortly before they arrived, founding Blasters bassist John Bazz and drummer Bill Bateman got on Zoom to chat about the band's glory days, how Queen got them into the Union, Phil's current health and police record, and tons more. Enjoy. Well, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing great. How about you?
I'm good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. For people who may not recognize you, we're talking to Bill Buster Bateman and John Bazz from the Blasters. Do you say Bazz or do you say Bats? Do you go with the Italian?
No, it's like jazz with a B, Baz.
All right, makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. And we are here today to talk about, I guess you could call it in a way the return of the Blasters, at least in terms of these old albums getting reissued by Liberation Hall. Yeah, exactly. Mandatory and this one coming back out.
Oh yeah, that's great. I love that.
I'll do love to you guys. This is my favorite non-Blasters album, you know. So how did this all come about?
The reissue?
Yeah.
We had been, for the last couple of years, we've been talking about reissuing the catalog, and our manager, Greg Lurick, is good friends with the folks at Lib Hall. So we pursued that avenue, and it worked out.
Great. I mean, obviously the stuff's out there on Spotify, but it just, I don't know, it feels nicer to have something you can hold in your hands with you guys. It seems to be more appropriate to your music, to have something on CD or vinyl and not just out there in the ether.
Yeah, it's kind of weird these days. You can you just pick up your phone and say, "Hey, Alexa or Siri or whomever, play this song," and it happens. But the great thing about this reissue of the catalog is it's going to be on vinyl, on CD, and online as well. So, and the packaging should be, we're just starting, so we'll see how it ends up, but it should be great because of all the content. Mm-hmm. And we're currently looking for little nuggets to throw in these packages, and this will be spread out over the next couple of years.
Well, that's great. And I was going to ask if there was, if you were going to try and grab some bonus tracks or some other things as opposed to just putting out the albums as they were.
Yeah, I think we're going to be true to the albums as they were, but then there will be additional material included as well. So we want to serve both masters.
Yeah. Is one of you kind of the band's archivist who has all this extra stuff around, or is it scattered hither and yon?
It's scattered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got photos.
Uh-huh.
I've got thousands of photos. The photographers made gifts of them over the years. I didn't take the photos. I was just their gifts. So Johnny's got the same thing. David has the same thing. As far as the recordings, we acquired those by contract after a period of time. Now, what year was that, Johnny? 16 or something like that?
Yeah, we went ahead and wrote a letter to, or had a legal document sent to Warner Brothers, and the masters were released back into our possession. So they all exist, and they're all, I don't know where they're at. I've never seen them. But
So what's it been like
We
kind
have
of,
more music, yeah, that nobody's ever heard.
oh yeah, well, great. I mean, yeah, and everybody wants to hear it, obviously. Obviously, you guys have played most of these songs countless times, but I bet it's probably been a long time since you maybe sat down and listened to the versions you recorded, 40 years ago. What's it been like, kind of, digging into the past again in such a big way to do this project?
I don't know that we really had to dig in. All we had to do was agree to things with emails.
Uh-huh.
Um, we, we remember recording the songs. Maybe you haven't heard one in 35 years, but the only time I hear them is the Blasters is accidentally on the radio or a jukebox in a bar.
Uh-huh. And when you have that happen, I mean, how does does the stuff hold up to you now when you listen to it, all these decades later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, but we were making sure that happened 5 minutes after it was pressed, but yeah, after it's too late.
Yeah, right. Of course, it's always too late. The thing, I mean, one of the things I like about the set list, or the running order of mandatory, is you obviously, first of all, perfect title. Second of all, yeah, you've got all the essentials and the quote unquote hits on there, but you've got some real gems like Kathleen and Samson and Delilah and things that aren't necessarily, the first thing that might spring to mind. So who put this list together? Was it the band, or was it a combination of people?
It started with the label. They gave a general set list, and then Dave Alvin's always been very particular about the running order of anything, an album or a live show. So David fine-tuned the set list for the mandatory CD. But that's his work.
Okay, so and then you guys just had to say okay, or did you even?
No, we were. Well, you always say okay.
All right. There's been a lot of talk about how you guys would each have vociferous opinions about things in the past,
Oh yeah, well, we're friends, so that'll happen. But it was the two brothers that would sometimes bust heads together, but never the set list or the set order. David always had a story he wanted to tell every night, every show. And we could be it would be a tour. We'd be playing be out for 2 weeks. We wouldn't do the same set twice because David wanted to fine tune it for that night. And that's what he did with the mandatory CD.
Okay. So when, dealing with those guys as brothers, and I mean, nobody can push each other's buttons like family. And even though you guys had known each other all of your lives, and everybody said you were all like brothers, still, when they were maybe going head to head, where did that leave you guys? I mean, did you have to be kind of a united front against them, or were you trying to be peacemakers, or would you just kind of go, you guys figure it out and we'll be back when you're done?
Yeah, exactly.
I would jump in and be the bad guy so they'd be friendly with each other again against me.
You would take one for the team.
He was the sacrificial drummer.
Wow.
I just jump in the fight. And, they would agree that I was worse than either one of them were, so they'd be friends again. And you don't want the wrath of me, but
Oh, okay. You're the real menace in the band. Okay.
well, no, I can be annoying,
All right. So you guys
Phil and I go way back, but
uh-huh. So you guys being childhood friends, right? I mean, from what I read, some of your parents were friends before you were even around. It seems like you guys were just kind of destined to be in some sort of trouble together.
well, the Bazz and Alvins, yeah.
Yeah. And so who was who kind of led the way in terms of getting you guys all into not only music, but specifically the kind of music you ended up playing? Because I mean, age-wise, you were all kind of around the time when, you would have seen the Beatles on Ed Sullivan like every other kid at that age. But instead of kind of, going into, I want to get a guitar and I want to be Paul McCartney, you guys went, we want to get guitars and be Big Joe Turner,
Jimmy
How did
Reed.
that happen?
There was, if Phil was here, he would tell you that it was his cousin Donna, older cousin Donna, that turned him on to music. So she really led the way, opened doors, not open doors, but just showed him a different kind of music. And David, being Phil's brother, I think was influenced by cousin Donna's taste in music as well.
Yeah, she babysat them,
Mm-hmm.
and she had a record collection. They snooped around.
But even if you did like the Beatles, if you really like the Beatles, you would listen to what the Beatles listened to, and so that could be that was real music as well. So, yeah, I think we even played a version of Bad Boy way back when, not the Beatles version, but the original.
You have that on a recording.
I think I do.
David's singing that one.
But it was always, it was always this kind of rootsy, bluesy music right from the get-go in terms of you guys being a band. I mean, there was never a cover band phase where you were playing, Ferry Cross the Mersey or whatever,
We might, maybe
We're not English.
Yeah, no, we might have experimented
Well,
with music, but it was we did have the same interest in music, in that we would go out together to go see Big Joe Turner if he was in town, and of course he always was because he lived in LA. But the Ash Grove was a really great nightclub that if you were a traveling blues artist, you had to make a stop in LA and play the Ash Grove. And God, we would be there, once a month, just checking somebody out.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy because again, you guys seemed like such misfits in terms of the scene of the day, but it was really just a subculture that existed there in LA anyway, that it seems like nobody else of your peer group was really keyed into,
There was a small group in Downey that where we grew up that liked the same kind of music we did, but it was we were, yeah, you're right, we were outcasts. But I think that
There's we were Downeyonians. There wasn't 100 of us. It seemed like there was. It was like a gang. Everybody played music one way or another, or was a photographer or a writer or something, but everybody's young. So what was our photographer's buddy? Start with an R.
Dan Riley.
Riley, yeah. So there was Tony Tanner was a piano man also. Doug Allgood was a bass player hanging around. Gary Massey, Dave Carroll is a drummer, and then there's like the Gene Welser and Butch and Dave Carroll and Eugene Anderson, and it just goes on and on. Everybody's on the same wavelength, and I don't understand that, but we didn't look down our nose at the rest of the world, but they were wrecked. We put them down, like, and it was just weird. You're right. We're listening to Jimmy Reed and early country blues, folk music, American folk music,
Yeah.
all what people would call Western music, country and Western swing. Yeah, Bing Crosby in an all-black band, hot jazz, everything. There's, as far as the popular music goes, with Ferry Cross the Mersey and everything else, Rolling Stones doing Satisfaction. That's this deep, and American folk music is miles long. You get lost in it and never find your way out. You don't need, I don't want to find my way out, but I haven't been able to express myself 100% yet by loving the music and then trying to be that way in life and on stage and with a drum set and whatever. I've been in bands with popular music, or brand new, hot off the presses, punk rock or whatever.
Mhm.
I'm American folk music, thanks. Black and white, and green and pink and yellow and everything else.
Well, talking about
American
punk rock though.
Yes.
Yeah. Talking about punk rock, though, I mean, you guys are out there. We're out there in this scene with Black Flag and Fear and X and the Circle Jerks and all these other bands that musically you seem completely polar opposite to in a lot of ways. Although I would argue that if you listen to your early recordings and you listen to X's early recordings, there's that same raw kind of energy in there, you know what I mean? And the same roots are there. But how did you fit into that scene on a personal level? Because again, the music was so kind of opposite in a way.
Once you start studying American folk music, all right. So I saw J.B. Hutto and the Hawks at the Whiskey Go-Go in like 1968, right? J.B. Hutto was wilder than Alice Cooper. He wasn't doing the insane things. He was just being a wild man, and his whole persona is wild. And you can see that, you can feel it deep. He was, on his amp, doing flips in the air, playing his guitar, running around everywhere. James Harmon, who's, dead now, is older than me. So he was from Anniston, Alabama, and his father was sheriff of Anniston. And he saw a lot of bluesmen, real bluesmen, more than I did, more than Phil did or anybody, because he's older. And he said that the shows, like a Little Walter show, Little Walter band in a bar, he saw that. They're not 3-minute songs like they were on the records. They're 9-minute songs. And the wild things happen on every song. That music is how rock and roll is born, and how rockabilly singers that got that little kick about everything,
Right.
It's like they know what's going on and nobody else does, they're kind of hip. There's nothing hipper than like Muddy Waters at a Rolling Stones show. They treat him like a god, when he was alive.
Rightly so.
There's a reason for that, because he is, the energy level. We tried, you can't get the energy level of the Little Walter band, for instance, with all the original players on a stage in 1955 or 6 or something. You're not getting that energy out of any human being, that's alive today.
Yeah, but you could try.
You can try, that's right.
Yeah. But it strikes me that seeing you
a
guys
real good fight, like, have you seen better? Like, really,
Yeah.
So
but it strikes me that scene you guys came up in, whereas in some other cities, and like in New York, say, or London, where you had their various punk scenes of the time. On the West Coast, it almost seemed like the scene was a lot more collaborative than competitive. That you guys were all part of a bigger thing and friendlier with each other than, say, some of the bands that were playing, CBGBs back in the day were. Am I way off the mark there, or do you get that?
There was a certain camaraderie with the LA bands, and there's a
thing about California too.
Yeah,
in Southern California, we've got a small yard on a 2-bedroom house in Southern California is as big as 5 large homes in London, right?
Right.
Like they're all everybody's crammed together in New York City. They don't really, a real New Yorker doesn't get what it is to be a Californian you know, lazy bum laying on the beach, like whatever, you know, us Californians did. And you take it easy out here. Things are a little more easy going. So are all the musicians. Very few knife fights and, you know, between rock and roll bands, but in New York there is. And the more of the clubs, you know, club wars and whatever, you know, it's wild. Or it was. I don't know what it is today.
I don't know. The thing that's interesting though is out of all those bands, I mean, when you think about all the London bands and the New York bands of 40, 45 years ago, most of them are gone. You know, people are either retired or dead or gone. But almost all the bands from that LA scene are still around in some way, shape, or form. You know, you guys, I mean, X are still out there. Fear are still playing. Alice Bag put out an album last year, for crying out loud. I mean, everybody's still kind of doing their thing. Is there any explanation?
Everybody that's got the original, you know, that has a presentable outfit and, you know, can get gig contracts is out there. Post opening the gates after 2020, you know, oh, it's okay now, guys, you can go work. Well, on the scale of things, bars and musicians took the bottom rack of what happened in 2020 with business. So post 2020, of course, they didn't do it right out of the gate, but the ones that did do it out of the gate, the bigger acts, were raking in the dough. So everybody else jumped in that could, like, jump in. The bands that can't jump in obviously aren't there. Now, brand new bands coming up, that is, you know, remains to be seen. You know, the next big thing with people playing music and not letting a machine do it for them. Do you see that happening? Do you see a lot of acts around there?
Oh, well, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, obviously. And I mean, I obviously gravitate towards real people playing real instruments as opposed to people pushing buttons on a machine.
Well, like you mentioned that the old guys are dropping out.
Well, I mean, it just seems to me that the Californians have fared better than people in other parts of the world. I mean, you know, your old buddy Chris D's got an album coming out this week with Divine Horseman. You know, Dave's got obviously the Third Mind thing coming out this week. You know, everybody's still so active as opposed to, you know, all those CBGB bands are, you know, the Ramones are all dead. You know, Television are long gone. Patti Smith is kind of still around, but, you know, it seems like there's something that the Californians were doing right, you know?
It's the air. It's the sunshine. I don't know. It's the water.
Yeah, all right. So what makes you guys such a great rhythm section? What's the key to it? Is it just, I mean, obviously you've been playing together for decades now and can and can anticipate where the other one's going.
We have the same taste in music, basically. And
wait a second, let me interrupt. Pre-Blasters, I was a drummer.
I know.
And Bill is a drummer, so we had that in common. And when in fact, when the Blasters started, I knew how to play guitar a little bit, but the Blasters needed a bass player. And Bill's quote, word for word, is "Get Bazz because he doesn't know any better." And he was right. I would sit in his living room with Bill, Phil, and Dave, and we'd play a record, and I had learned the bass. I didn't know what I was doing, but I learned it note for note off those old records. And so that was how, so anyway, just being a drummer and Bill being a drummer and growing up in that same environment, I think we were already locked in or halfway there anyway. And then the you know, the Blasters, being in the Blasters for so many years playing together really brought it home.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you guys don't even need to talk about a part now. You can just look at each other and know what to do, right?
Yeah. It's been that way for a long time.
When you play music, you hear music in your head. And I think Bill and I are listening to the same thing when the music's happening.
I know
live.
he's listening to hot jazz right now.
What?
In his head. You know, it's like I don't even know.
No, I'm not. But that would be Phil Alvin, who's probably listening to that right now.
So what was your favorite period as a blaster? Was there a specific era or time or year or you know, chunk of it that was this is the best it's going to be?
Oh God. Well, there was a 5-year period where it was pretty solid all the time. Maybe when we showed up on the first stage with Queen, and we had to believe that we were really hired for that, and there we are, and here's how it really is. I don't know. What do you think, Joey?
I don't know, that era. Yeah, the first couple 3 or 4 or 5 years were great. And it was we started at, you know, when the Blasters started, we were just doing talent contests and opening for anybody that would answer their phone. And then there was interest being generated, and it seemed like every week we'd be offered a bigger and better gig, and we'd go from opening for Ray Campy at the Whiskey A Go Go to headlining the Whiskey A Go Go with only 6 months later. And then next thing you know, you're playing at the Santa Monica Civic, and like Bill said, you're on stage at the Forum for 4 nights opening for Queen.
That was a big lift.
It was very explosive, and everything moved quite quickly back then.
We made the cover of the Calendar magazine inside the Los Angeles Times, which was that thick at the time and huge, you know. And the gig started happening as soon as that happened, and that was the summer of '80. So from that point on, we were launched, you know, like.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of North America probably saw you on Fridays for the first time. You know, that was probably, I think that was maybe your first national TV thing, was it?
No, I think we did American Bandstand before that.
Before Fridays? Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Fridays, yeah, that would, yeah.
Does that predate American Bandstand?
No, American Bandstand is pretty early, and
okay.
Post American Bandstand, how many of those we did? 2 or 3?
I don't know.
I think we did 3 American Bandstands. There's the Solid Gold. Remember we did Solid Gold?
That must have been surreal.
Yes.
How many TV shows? There was so many shows. And what was it? The one with Fats?
Rock and Roll Evening News.
Yes, that's right. I keep forgetting that one.
Don't ask me why I remember that, but yeah.
Wow. So going back to this reissue series, is there a particular album that you're kind of especially proud of that maybe, you know, didn't get the attention you think it deserved at the time?
I don't know. Maybe Over There.
Oh, the live one in London.
Right.
That's a great recording. And that was an EP. It was only 6 songs that we released, but the
6 or 7
songs recorded.
My only problem with this, David has problems. My problem with it is we play so fast.
And whose fault is that, Mr. Timekeeper?
Phil Alvin. Phil Alvin's got this hand. It goes behind him, and behind it's like this.
Oh, okay.
And he's got the foot doing that, so you got to
doing the, you know, bring the beat up. Yeah. You know, this fast. Bring it up. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. You know, and so I'm blaming it on him.
All right. Well, you know, you held up your end admirably. Those are some. You played fast, but you were right on the money every beat. You know.
Yeah. What did they speed that up in the studio? It's too fast.
It's too fast. You know, I can't believe that you guys never even got a Grammy nomination, let alone an award. That seems like an injustice.
Oh, well, maybe they're not done.
All right, there's still time.
They have, dead guys, so they'll put us in there.
Maybe,
Maybe.
but
Uh-huh.
we're rebels.
Or at least
We're
Rock and Roll Hall of
nonconformists.
Fame.
We don't,
Uh-huh.
we're not part of that club.
Okay. I mean, I know it'd be nice, but yeah, that's not why you did it. I think a lot of people probably,
Anyway,
yeah, I think a lot of people probably don't know about the fact that your deal with Slash when you guys moved to Warner. I mean, part of that was that they, without going into all the arcane, details of how the money worked, they ended up getting enough funding to basically get the label going to the point where they could sign all these other artists like Los Lobos and Violent Femmes and Rank and File, and a lot of those guys kind of in an indirect way owe a lot of their success and longevity in careers to where you guys were.
That was intentional because they took a chance when they signed us. We weren't well known. And I think they hemmed and hawed a little bit. In fact, X really helped force the issue because X was on Slash.
Right.
And X demanded Slash sign the Blasters. And when we signed with Slash, we did really well, and Warner's became interested, but we didn't want to leave Slash and go to Warner's. We wanted to bring them with us because they took a chance, and we just felt it was appropriate to pay them back.
There was a short period of time there we kept doing sold out weekends at the Whiskey A Go Go, and David and Johnny Doe were searching East LA bars and whatever for bands that weren't punk rock, So, and David and I lived together, and we were in a big pad, so we had guests over all the time. 3-4 nights a week, we'd have 60, 80 people in there, and David would always hire somebody to entertain everybody at our party, right? And he met a young guy from Bakersfield. It was Dwight Yoakam. So he hired Dwight Yoakam to play our party with his guitar, and decided, oh, we're going to have Dwight open one of those nights at the Whiskey A Go Go, because he said he's got a whole band. Boom. Dwight was signed like that. Did the same thing with Los Lobos. Put him on the bandstand at the Whiskey A Go Go, open for us for the weekend. Signed just like that. That was the only two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys should have been getting points on these guys, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
nice.
Dwight knows, and Caesar and David Hidalgo know, and the whole band and the roadies, everybody, they all know.
Well, I hope you get Christmas cards at least.
We just get respect.
That's fair enough. So do you have regrets about the way it kind of ended? What sounds like acrimoniously and suddenly, and
No, I think it ran its course, and it was inevitable. And you could, that last year, you could really see David moving away from the Blasters. And I felt as a songwriter, it was my opinion only, that he wanted to go in different directions. He was growing as a songwriter, and he felt constrained, I think, in the confines of the Blasters, because we couldn't perform the music that he had in his head. He needed to do what he did, and
we're too fast.
And it wasn't a bad thing necessarily. It was just David going off doing his own thing, and we were left to really keep the tradition going. We were ambassadors at that point, and because David had written so many great songs by that time, that we had a catalog that we could play, and we didn't have to repeat anything.
And we had so many great gigs to do.
Yeah.
Without David, David and I were living together, as I mentioned. David already knew the problem, that there was a missing seat in the blasters, and Hollywood Fest coming over to our house, giving David guitar lessons and getting dropped off and picked up. And he said, well, yeah, get Fatty. And we did. And he lasted 6 months before he died.
Yeah.
You know, not a natural causes. He was 32-year-old tough, you know, young, strong man. Then Billy Zoom. I got Billy Zoom for a whole summer. And he quit because he said his rat died while he was gone, and that's just can't happen. And so I went to David again, and you know, he was listening to another band I was in, the Radio Ranch Straight Shooters, because I had work tapes. I'd just gotten in them. And he said, well, who's that guy playing guitar there? Get him, he's great. And it would happen to be Greg Hormel. And I said, well, okay. So I showed Greg some blues music over a 9-month period, and we started a couple of blues bands together so that he could be in a blues band with me and learn and get his audition in blasters. And he did get the audition. So David gave 2 guitar players, and the third one, I wasn't there. Keith, I was gone at the time. Keith and I didn't start playing together until 08, from 90, all of 93 to 08. And what we were talking about, Guitar Men, or what happened? Why did we keep going after David left the band?
Well, I mean,
He had
just,
so many
you know,
great gigs. And
were you still living with him after the band broke up?
oh yeah.
That must have been interesting.
Oh yeah, sure. I went with him to the concert arena in Hollywood to see X, and they had Tony Gilkison on guitar and David. No, Billy, he'd quit too. So he quit their band. David joined. I got him in our band. It was great.
Swapping everybody in and out, yeah.
Well, yeah, like, oh, you've got Billy in the band now? Because Billy's, you know, arrogant and bitching, you know, like he's tough as hell. And well, he was fun to have in a band.
Yeah, well, like we were talking about the camaraderie of the scene out there, that people would come and go, you know.
Refrigerator door, and he's getting a photo.
And that's is that Zoom?
That's Zoom.
Yeah, nice.
Vespa looks like.
We've got some photo outtakes, photo session outtakes of the band with Billy in some alleys and clowning around here and there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
We won't show right now.
So I guess this is the point where I should ask how Phil is doing.
Oh, happy.
Yeah.
The band's working, and he's got the band set up the way he wants it.
Phil Alvin. How's Phil Alvin doing?
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you said Billy.
Oh no. No, I know Billy's okay. How's Phil?
Phil's okay. He's not well enough to play. I think he's retired at this point, but he's I haven't seen him in a few weeks, but he's man, he's had everything under the sun hit him practically all at once, and so he's still recovering from the pandemic.
Okay, I didn't know he had that too.
No, he didn't have COVID, but he was but he was that's when he would.
I don't know anybody personally that had COVID
You don't?
19.
Me neither.
I've met a million people and yet to meet one that, yeah, I went through it.
Hey, wait, I had it, but
You had it for sure.
well, I took a test and it came out positive and I felt
Yeah.
terrible. So I was sick.
Kids get all those tests and line them up. All right, positive, negative, all day. Great,
Okay,
they work.
we're not going to go there. But Phil's hanging in there, and I talk to his girlfriend all the time. He's getting better, but slowly. But
Okay.
I think we should his status. He's what is it when a ball player's doesn't play, but you're still on the team?
Oh,
He's on the DL.
I was gonna say, yeah, okay. So, I mean, obviously,
Wait.
more pictures.
Oh, he's doing okay. He's just
Oh yeah,
relaxed.
okay, yeah. Well, he's doing okay there.
Take a little break.
You should just haul your fridge around on tour, I guess.
Yeah, right. On tour, the fridge.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the top question is people are wondering if there's any chance we'll ever hear some form of new Blasters music, and it doesn't sound like you're that optimistic about it.
no, you won't.
Yeah, okay. Simple as that, huh?
Yep.
All right. Well, fair enough. I mean, there's no other, yeah. So, but we'll get something new, some unheard things, some rarities, some gems on these reissues. So I guess that's, what can you say? The best we can do, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys have other things on the go that you want to talk about in terms of solo projects or other things happening?
Well, Johnny and I have been hooked up with a fellow I met in Alaska when I was up there in 1998 and 99. And he's a guitar man, songwriter, singer guy. And we use that same old band name I used with Hormel back in the 80s, the Blue Shadows.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Devil band they were the Blue Shadows.
Right.
Till Rick had to have the Red Devils. Look, Johnny Ray had a little button on his jacket said Red Devils. Rick Rubin had to have that. We're the Blue Shadows
okay.
of the 21st century. I call him a Sarge, he calls him Harv. Montos and myself, Johnny, and Jack Rudy, a harmonica man.
Oh, okay.
A local great.
We don't play that frequently, but when we do, it's a celebration. It's wonderful music.
Well, the gigs are non-existent in old Los Angeles town these days. Post 2020, everything dried up. A lot of bars went out of business. Bands threw in the towel. It's all brand new kid bands, or very young, out of high school, early college age, trying out music, failing most of the time. Everybody can't do that, but they didn't used to be that way in the old days.
Right.
Well, you had to be in a musicians union to play in a bar in the old days, and you had to pass tests to get in the union. You had to prove you could play and read music and everything else. And it was tougher and tougher as you go back in time. And the grip relaxed in the 60s, hippies, relax. 70s, 80s is gone. No bars were union bars anymore, although the whiskey might still be. The Roxy and the Whiskey were union bars. The Forum is probably still union.
When the Blasters opened for Queen, we had to join the union because it was a union hall. The San Diego Sports Arena was
and the Forum. Every place Queen
so
played.
we had to show our union cards to enter the backstage.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I didn't have to join because I joined in 1969 to play the Whiskey a Go-Go when I was a senior in high school.
So have you guys done some recordings with this new Blue Shadows? Is there going to be something out there we can hear?
We haven't recorded recently, but we have recorded in the past.
Okay.
We don't have plans to record at this point.
All right. Bill, I wanted to ask you, you did some time with the Cramps.
Yeah.
What was
I
that like?
was cramped.
The Cramps, yeah.
Yeah, I was cramped. That's what it was like.
Oh, that's what it was like. Okay.
Very difficult job. Proud of it, love being in it, exciting every second, but difficult. Yeah. Like I was friends with Lux and Ivy years and years before that,
Right.
and could do no wrong with them. And once you're in the band, there's band rules, and it's basically strike one, you're out.
You seem like a guy who's going to get strike one to me.
You're right, Ivy. It's not Lux, because he pounds wine before the show and gets loose. Ivy doesn't drink, right? She might have one beer after the show. She does all the business, arranges everything. Ivy's the boss, and she's a real nice boss. You don't cross her. You want her smiling at you on the stage and not giving you the angry person look.
She kind of vanished after Lux died. I mean, nobody's heard anything from her since. Do you have any contact with her? Do you know how she's doing?
No, but I do know that there's a gang of girls that were a gang in 1978, 79, 80, 81. Leader being Pleasant Gaiman. Belinda Carlisle was in there, and the gang of girls are still hang together a little bit. And she's part of that.
Oh, good.
She has girlfriends. They don't talk about her. Where are you going?
You just you've got it all. Here, you need to put out the photo book, John.
Well, maybe.
I think so. And you did some time with Charlie Musselwhite, right? Didn't you?
Yeah, I recorded an album. God, I can't tell you when that was. Let's just say 7 years ago. But yeah, that was great. That was wonderful.
Yeah,
Good.
I mean, I would think he's got to be just like a font of great stories and knowledge, and just this sort of living embodiment of so much of what you grew up listening to.
That, and we had a lot of mutual friends, so the stories were I could relate to. And he lived in Oakland, I think, most of his life. He may still live up in Oakland, Alameda somewhere. But so yeah, I knew all the players, and we had mutual friends. And
right.
Yeah, he was
who was his guitar player then? Was it the guy from GA20?
Who?
His guitar player at the time you were with him? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Okay. No worries. The names popped out of my head. It's because there's now that guy's got the band GA20.
I don't know that band.
Okay, you'd like them. They're two guitars, drums, old Chicago blues.
Wow, cool. Yeah, I'll take a listen.
Yeah, take a listen.
Harmon was very much like Charlie Musselwhite, about the same age. Maybe Charlie had a couple years on him. There's some funny stories about Charlie Musselwhite, and he had a sidekick in it. I think it was it was the 70s, and after 75, so like 78, we'll say. And Phil and I and James Harmon went to the Ash Grove to see. It was open mic night. So I don't know why we were in a hurry to go from Downey up to Hollywood, up to West Hollywood. But Charlie was running the show. And Charlie's sidekick was Stu the Knife. And before the night was over, Stu the Knife's followed me into the bathroom, and he's got to stick me. And I said, well, that's fine. Stu the knife. Wait for me to finish peeing, okay? Let me finish peeing, then I'll turn around and address this problem. And then Harmon came in, and Harmon had a bigger knife. So he made Stu cry, and Charlie we were on the outs with Charlie all of a sudden. I was on the outs for sure. And you're saying Johnny was playing with you were playing with him?
That was years later. That was many years later.
Charlie probably doesn't remember the incident, but it involved the Rolling Clones,
Okay.
a band called Rolling Clones.
I'm just amazed you were surprised that a guy named Stu the Knife pulled a knife on you.
Well, yeah, that Harmon knew him, you know. Oh, that's Stu the Knife. He's a puss, you know. He's got a switchblade knife. He's pulling. I don't know.
All right, guys.
Not the first
Well, listen.
time a knife on me.
Listen, I've taken up enough of your time today, but thanks so much for talking to me.
Photo.
You got another photo there?
It's of Phil's police record.
Okay. Bring it.
Oh wait, what did I do?
You lost it?
No. Here we go. Almost. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ah. Bada boom, bada bing.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Goodbye.
That's a good way to end with the joke.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right,
thank you
guys.
very much for the opportunity to reach out and promote our new
Mandatory. Again, the best the best titled anthology I can think of.
I'm glad you like that.
Yes. Well, thanks for all the music over the decades. You know, I mean, I'm still one of the things, you know, one of the best album covers of all time, I gotta say. You know?
You know, it's funny when we reissued that on F-Beat Records, or when we put it out in England on F-Beat, they wouldn't use that cover. They had to
Why
come
not?
up. They didn't like it. I think it looked too much like another English band's album cover.
What I want to know is, can I still order my Blaster shirt for $7 each?
Yeah, all day long.
Just send the money to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could order them.
Yeah, no, exactly. I can order them.
Order
I'll send it care of Stu the Knife.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All right, guys. Listen, thanks for your time. Thanks for the music. Best of luck with all of this, and we'll catch you somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I hope so.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.